Welcome to the Penny to the Pound podcast, brought to you by ClearStart Accountants. We've talked a lot in previous podcasts about the ClearStart Accountants budgeting side of the business, and we've only briefly touched on another big side of the business, and that is when you work with businesses for their accountants, tax and things like that. So with me today, for this episode of the podcast, I have Pedram, who is the accountant here at ClearStart, and Aziz, who is the accounts assistant.
Penny to the Pound, a podcast by ClearStart Accountants and Personal Budgeting Services.
Give me a bit of background on what you've done before, Pedram.
Hi, and thanks for having us.
That's okay.
Right, so I've been in accountancy pretty much as soon as I graduated from university. Followed on to do my CIMA and got qualified.
What's a CIMA?
Chartered Institute of Management Accounting.
Okay.
Yes. And I kind of done a bit of industry, worked as an in-house accountant. From then on, I kind of thought I want to do my own thing. So started my own practice. Been going more or less ever since. Joined ClearStart about 2-3 years ago on a full-time basis, even though I was helping out beforehand. And the rest is history.
You know Fiaz very well. You've worked with him a long time. How did you get to know him then?
We grew up together.
Oh, okay.
We grew up on the same estate. So I knew him before all of this started. When my kids, we used to play football at the local park. And then obviously when he went into business, supported him in and out a few times until we're here today.
Right. Okay. And what about yourself, Aziz? What's your experience and background?
Firstly, I been an account assistant for about 6 years. Initially, I started with EET, which is Association of Accounting Technicians.
Right.
It's a bit lower than a CIMA or an ACCA, for example, or chartered accountant. Mostly my experience has been in industry as accounts payable, as accounts receivable.
So working for a business as their accountant.
Yeah, in-house accounting, basically concentrating on the company's accounts, the financial statements, etc. of that company.
So like chasing payments and...
Chasing payments, paying suppliers, dealing with suppliers, doing bank reconciliations, things like that.
Yeah.
This is my first job in practice. I've been here just more than a year with Fiaz and ClearStart Accountants. And I deal with around 100, 150 clients now, which is giving me a huge exposure. My experience has gone off the roof. My confidence to speak with clients and looking at different accountants and looking at different businesses has completely changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me.
I suppose your experience of being on the other side has been really helpful because you know what it's like actually like in business. And so you know what it's like to have to manage your cash flow and all that from the business perspective. So now working on the perspective of the accountant who's tying all that together to work out tax returns, self-assessments, all those sorts of things, it really helps.
Yes, definitely. Usually what can happen is as a practice accountant, you will meet your clients once or twice a year. At the end of the year, at the end of the financial year, you'll come and you'll sit with them and go through all of their financial data, prepare the financial statements, and then make the final submissions to HMRC and Companies House. Mm. But with the previous experience that I've had, I've been able to sit down with clients and go through the day-to-day bookkeeping. That's something that some clients are not, they would want to do themselves, so they have more control of their business. They just don't want to hand it over to their accountants, etc. And it does cost extra as well for that service. So this is something that I've been able to advise clients how they can chase their suppliers, their customers, how they can, their accounts payable, credits, accounts receivable, that can benefit having more cash, more liquid in their business, that can benefit their day-to-day operations. Yeah.
I mean, to a non-business owner, this is very mind-boggling, isn't it? So just tell us the sort of things that if you're a business owner that you have to look after.
Oof, that's.
I know it's a broad question.
I don't think we have that much time for that kind of question.
But something because there's going to be someone listening to this podcast potentially who doesn't know.
One of the following on what Aziz said, one of the good things about people like us with accountants who go into industry first is that you learn about that bookkeeping side of it, all your transactions. So when you move on to a practice, you've got that knowledge already and you know what you're looking for. You can advise the client better. You can say, right, this is what you should categorize this. This is how you should do this. And I think that's, in my opinion, I think that's a massive help rather than going straight into industry. In terms of our clients, they're so varied from all sorts of different industries. And sometimes we have to tailor make our services based on their industry. So we try to sit down, understand the business, understand what the client's looking for, and support them as much as we can.
I mean, the very basic things that you do is make sure that people are paying the right tax, and because you can get in trouble if you're not paying the right tax.
Absolutely.
And the fines don't go away quietly. They can come, and so it's your job. It's so important to make sure that people are paying the right tax and keeping their business, I suppose, legally correct, isn't it? Because the HMRC it can be quite scary.
The lifeline of the business is your finances. You're not got that right. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you're going to hit trouble.
And it's difficult when you start a business to know that, because you there's so many things that you end up paying to the tax man. You kind of, I know this happens to us. We kind of like, I don't understand. I've got another tax bill. Where's that come from?
Yeah. If you're not careful and if you don't have the right advice, every turn there will be some element of tax you have to pay. So our job is to make sure the client understands all of this, plans for it, is ready when the time comes. So
what type of businesses do you have on your books? You obviously said you have 150. What kind of clients have you got?
We've got anything from recruitment companies, architects, interior design, couriers, taxi drivers, restaurants, takeaways, IT, consultancy.
A broad range.
Property development.
Yeah.
We've actually got a couple of international clients who have based themselves in the UK. So we're kind of supporting them with all the international stuff. Now, their headquarters where they're based, we won't know too much about their taxes. However, we can help them in the UK.
Yeah. Just on that point, there's often criticism about the UK and what we pay in tax. Do you think, as this sort of reflection on the international scale, do we pay a fair amount here, or do we pay over what we should do?
Yeah, dude, that's a loaded question. They keep come asking me for all I to say. I do think we tend to pay a little bit more,
right?
But we're not the highest. I mean, I know there's countries out there, they'll have different types of elements. For example, in Norway, Sweden, one of the Scandinavian countries have much higher income tax than we do. However, they have also different services than we do, which that tax kind of is for. And they have a set amount for companies and things like that. From understand this slightly outside my remit, as you imagine.
But like in Dubai, they don't pay income tax, do they?
Still need the money.
No, they don't. They earn money for all the services that they provide.
Yeah. So countries like that, yes, in Dubai, there's no tax of any kind there.
Yeah. So you talked about bookkeeping and that sort of stuff, which is the general day-to-day management of the business. So do you I know with our accountants, they have access to our accounting software. So we use Xero and there's other ones out there. So do you link up to accounting software that the person has?
We're actually a partner with Xero.
Oh, okay.
So most of our clients, the ones that do require the accountancy software, we'll put them on Xero. We'll set everything up for them, give them training as well, wherever necessary. And then they can get on with it.
And you have to have an accounting package now, don't you?
To a certain extent, yes. If you're a high transaction business, it helps because it helps you manage all the transactions. If you're VAT registered, obviously with the new legislation, you have to have some sort of software in order to submit VAT. Now we have our own software we can do.
Okay.
If a client doesn't need to be on Xero. However, all the ones that are VAT registered and on Xero, we will use Xero to submit everything because then everything's in one place.
So if you're a sole trader and they want to come to you and maybe they are VAT registered as well, you can submit the VAT returns and they don't have to worry about being on a program. Oh, that's really useful because that is a worry. A lot of jobbing people just want to get out there and do the work, don't they? And particularly tradespeople, and they want to do what they do best, and that is the job and not the figures.
Yeah, correct. And one of the things, actually, And I'm glad you mentioned tradespeople. One of the other things we offer where a lot of people don't know is rebates.
Right.
So rebates works very well within their CIS, which is a construction industry scheme.
Okay.
So what happens is if you're someone within construction, you go on a CIS scheme, which means you are classed as self-employed.
Yeah.
And what happens is you get taxed 20% on everything you make.
Right. Okay.
No,
that's quite a lot.
Allowance is some of them will get taxed 30% if they've not done the right registration.
Wow.
So from the first pound, no expenses taken into consideration, nothing. Because they get that at source.
Right.
So whoever's subcontracting you will take 20 or 30% of whatever you invoice them. Then our job is to get them registered, get them on the CIS scheme properly, and look to do accounts. So when we do their accounts, we will claim some of the tax back for them.
Right.
So we'll put in their expenses, because as you can imagine, they will get paid for their tools and materials, travel, things like that. We'll put all of that in. We'll claim some of the tax back for them. And it can be a decent amount.
And so I take it that scheme is to benefit the government then, is it? Because that seems like a lot of tax.
Yes.
Yeah. That's such a shame, isn't it?
There's a lot of people out there that don't realize this is a legitimate scheme that you can claim for.
Yeah.
Even some people who are employed, if they have expenses which are not reimbursed by the business, they can still claim the tax element back.
So is this just in the construction industry?
No. I mean, the construction industry scheme as an example,
Yeah.
is one of the biggest ones. However, say for example, if Abdul Aziz is currently doing his studies, if he was to do his studies on his own and pay for it, because it's related to his job and it's to help advance his job in his career, he can actually apply to get the tax element back for the studies that he's paid out of his own pocket.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we managed to actually get back £12,000 for just one client through CIS.
Yeah.
Wow.
Robotic engineer. So,
And if you've not claimed before, we can go back up to 4 years.
That is so. If you are a tradesperson in the building industry and you don't know about it, it's called the what? CIS?
Yeah, if you're under the CIS scheme
Under the CIS scheme.
and you're not claiming back for your expenses, we can help.
I mean, that is just one thing. I am sure that there are so many things like that floating about, and that because that is very targeted towards one industry. But I imagine that there is. If someone sat down in front of you and whatever industry they're in, you will know the intricacies of any savings that they can potentially make or any rebates that they can have, or, are they on the correct VAT code? Is that right? Yes.
Yes, that's a whole different podcast we need to do about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because we also have a publishing business and we print magazines and you don't pay VAT on.
Right.
But everything we buy, everything we charge a VAT on. So it's like every month or every 3 months, what we're doing is paying the VAT man. It's just a nightmare. But it's just the situation with the VAT, and it's a minefield.
There's so many different VAT elements. It's not just your 20% VAT, because you've got things like flat rates, marginal VAT. That's what we're here for. We're here to find the best way for the business who's our client. So
you do deal with a lot of businesses that are been in business a long time, that are big turnover, big profit, hopefully businesses. Do you also deal with like new starters? So say you've got somebody who wants to start their own business, you would deal with them as well?
Yeah, we've actually kind of fallen a little bit into new startups, whereby we seem to get a lot of people coming in contacting us saying, I'm thinking about starting a business. What do I need to do? This is what I do. And we'll support them from day one. It's existing or new businesses.
And how many people are on the team then?
So at the moment, there's me and Abdul Aziz. We've got 2 other guys who will be starting next week. So
it's growing all the time.
Yeah.
And you link up with the budgeting side of the business?
We tend to look over any of the complex cases. Some of the simpler cases, the lads, the guys in there are trained to deal with. Some of the bit more complex ones, for example, if it's a sole trader who's got variable income, things like that, we will sit down and have a look. One of the things that we do is to try and differentiate what's your business income and expenditure and what's your personal income and expenditure. Because with sole traders, it's all kind of amalgamated into one. So those are the things we support those guys on. But anything else they need,
We combine the packages as well. So anybody who's already on the budgeting services and they are a sole trader or they've got a limited company, the first year is usually free of charge. So the accountancy, tax returns, etc. We don't charge them. And then we do give them a discounted price as well. We do combine our packages. Business accountancy and so it's more affordable, and we're here to make life easier for the clients as well as it.
And hopefully, not necessarily save the money, because I don't like it when we say that when we talk around tax, because it's not about saving people money. It's about making sure they're paying
the liability.
Yeah, and making sure they're paying the right thing.
Correct.
Because you can be paying more than you need to because you don't know what you're doing. I wouldn't have an absolute clue. I wouldn't.
Paying less than what you're due.
Yeah.
Same kind of concept.
Yeah.
We're here
to get in trouble.
Absolutely. And we're here to tell you what you can and what you can't do. That's basically why we get paid.
So, Eddie, what is the question you get asked most as an accountant? Because it makes me laugh, because whenever you meet somebody with a job like who's an accountant or a doctor or something like that, you always ask them, either wherever you are in a social setting, you just want to talk about it. So what do people always ask you?
How can I save tax?
Oh, really?
Plain and simple. I don't know. I need to meet you first with this. See what's going on. But that's probably the first question I get. How can I save tax?
I mean, there's no easy answer to that, because, you just got to be making sure that you're doing everything right, haven't you? Ultimately.
And like I said, there's so many different elements of it. One of the other things is the R&D.
What does it stand for?
Research and development.
Oh, yes. I think I might have known a little bit about this.
Yeah. So again, that's another part of things that a lot of people don't realize, especially in particular, some of the one-man bands that we have, they will have their own system. They'll create their own things pretty much from scratch. And again, R&D reclaim is something we can help you with, whereby you can get money back if you've got something bespoke that you've done yourself.
When we were chatting with your colleague Mike, who designed the app. So I'm guessing that's something. So that's a great example of research and development that you've come up. ClearStart have come up with that app.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's a great example. So something like that would qualify for an R&D.
Some people might not even realize they've done it.
You know what? Funny enough, we kind of wasn't sure if it kind of falls into that category or not. Once we contacted HMRC, gave them our proposal and this, that, and they said, yeah, you do fall into it. So even us, we don't know until some things just trial and error.
And Aziz, have you got a question that you always get asked?
The question that I get asked in the office is, what are we eating today?
Oh, sorry, what?
What are we eating today?
Oh, why?
The reason being is me and Pedram, we're usually ordering a lot of food every lunch time.
So what have you eat? What are you going to eat today? It's not quite lunch yet.
We'll have to open up the app, Uber Eats.
Yeah.
So, that would be great. I'd love it. We haven't got access to the app.
And then it'll be a very serious conversation between me and Pedram.
Right.
Discussing the advantages and the disadvantages of these.
Is there a particular favourite restaurant or takeaway you've got? Well, it's in the vicinity of Manchester City Centre.
We used to order.
For me, it's Pepe's.
Pepe's. What do they do? Pizzas?
Oh, they do chicken.
Okay, fried chicken. Yeah.
More grilled chicken, healthy.
Yeah.
If we're feeling a bit healthy, then that's what we would go for.
Yeah.
That's a healthy option.
So what about yourself?
In regards to taxation, the question that I get asked a lot is similar. How can I be more efficient with my tax? And this is something that I tend to bring up to my clients because there is tax avoidance, which is illegal. But there's being tax efficient. Being able to claim for expenses that are work related. For example, uniform. A nurse, for example, she needs to wear a uniform to work, and this uniform needs to be clean and she needs to look professional.
Yeah.
So these things can be claimed for because you'll keep on using the washing machine, keep on using these kind of things. Professional subscriptions, like Pedram just mentioned. These things are claimable. A lot of people don't know this. They think it's going to come out of their own personal expenses. But no, this is related to your work. Even if you're fully employed, you don't have to be a sole trader. You don't have to have a limited company. You could be a normal employee just like we are of ClearStart Accountants. And that's what these rebates are. it's linked. Even after Corona, a lot of people have started working from home as well.
Yeah.
So there are a portion of expenses that you can claim for working from home.
Yeah.
Especially if you go 4 years ago when Corona initially hit and everybody had to. It wasn't really a choice. Nowadays, it's obviously a choice. But previously, it was not a choice to work from home. So this is something that we've looked into, and we've managed to get rebates and money back and refund of the tax liability that people have paid previously. And this has helped them a lot, especially with the cost of, living crisis that we're going on with. So this is...
But we're just going back to the part of the business, the budgeting side. If you know someone is struggling, you'll refer them to the budgeting side, won't you, anyway?
Yeah, of course we would. It depends. Again, it depends on the number of debtors they have, the level of debts they have, what's their income. But there's a few factors, but yeah, ultimately it will be.
You work in partnership with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all part of the same team.
And so then you share your food.
Yeah.
We feed them. So
no, I don't like sharing.
When it comes to accountancy, it's got a bit of you can't think, is it dead boring? But actually, I think it'd be dead interesting, like being really, because I'm nosy for a start, which helps massively, but just understanding profit and turnover and the difference between, because people think if there's a business with a £5 million turnover, and they shout that information out, but they've got like a 1% profit. Okay, that's quite like a lot.
This is something that we tend to go over with our clients. Once we've finalized and made a draft of their financial statements, then we'd actually call them in or have a Zoom meeting with them where we'd go line by line. What do these figures mean? What do these statements mean? What's an asset to your business? What's a liability? And what's equity? And how this can help you? If you're looking for investors, you want your liability to be bigger. You want your equity to be bigger. If you're looking to sell your business, what kind of profit you need to show? You need to be able. And how would you sell your business? If you've made a £10,000 profit, you're looking to sell it at 1.5 times more, twice more than what you've made. So these kind of decisions, you need to understand the financial elements of the financial statements. And that's what we're about, empowering these clients to understand what do these figures mean? Is it just about ticking off a box and just submitting whatever you've submitted? Or is it understanding the financial position of your business?
That's brilliant.
One of the things we do find is that some of the clients that have existing accountants and coming to us, they lack a lot of information. The accountants don't seem to give them what is necessary for them to run their business. So we're trying to change that ideology. We're trying to change that frame of mind, whereby we give as much information as we can. They're not going to go anywhere. I sometimes think the accountants think that if they give you all the information, the clients all of a sudden is going to start doing the accountant's job. Whereas that's not the case. I think it works in a different way where they trust us more. We've given them all this information and we can support them better.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The conversations that we tend to have with our clients is about taxes as well. Taxes is not something that you cover in high school, no primary school, no college, not university. So you never cover it. But as soon as you open up a limited company and you become a director, you're liable for corporation tax, VAT, and all these different taxes.
And you don't know anything about it.
You never taught it. So
we've taught ourselves, and my husband's very analytical, so he's quite good, but it can be really complicated. If you don't keep on top of it. But the thing you just mentioned about school qualifications, I just boggles my mind. Like, why don't they do touch on it briefly, but there is a GCSE you can do. I can't remember what it is now, but my niece has done it in Wales. So there is a GCSE you can do around personal finance.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's they do it in some schools in Wales. And so she's got this GCSE and it talks about credit cards, APRs. It talks about getting bank loans, about how to budget, all those things. And it goes into limited companies, sole traders, and the basics on tax. Why don't they do that as a standard GCSE?
I bet you in a few years' time, you will see more entrepreneurs coming out of that area of the country than you will anywhere.
Absolutely. Because they understand the basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really interesting talking to you both. I'll have to have you back.
Of course.
What would be really good would be to maybe have a chat with one of your clients as well, like somebody who's turning over maybe 20 million and we're not for lunch. I'm only joking.
I'll be there.
You guys said over 20 minutes. But it'd be nice to meet some clients and just to, you know, discuss with them the journey that you've been on with them and how you managed to save them money. We could perhaps do that.
Yeah, we've got that kind of relationship with our clients to be able to get them onto the podcast, I guess. And have that conversation with them. Yeah.
Or if people want to send in questions that are targeted towards this side of the business, accounting, they can email in at
accountancy@clearstartaccountants.co.uk.